paper, foreign aid is supposed to be aligned with, as I said, the beneficiary country priorities, and is supposed to focus on long-term impact. So I would say that to me the biggest issue is not aid itself, but it's more how it is structured and how it shapes incentives over time. I would say in addition to that is that from what I have seen so far, diaspora capital comes with fewer layers of bureaucracy and fewer externally imposed. I think that diaspora capital is a silver bullet because it works best when there is a credible, a robust investment environment.
Hello, welcome to the Great Return podcast, where we have conversations rooted in wealth creation and African development for and by people of African heritage, both at home and abroad. I am Lordy Emen, your host, and our mission at TGR Africa is to contribute to making people of Black heritage and the African continent prosperous through business and investments. Today, we are discussing, has foreign aid made a positive or negative impact on African development? And for this conversation, I have invited Caren Nsoudou from the foreign aid sector to help me with the conversation. Very welcome, Caren.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lordy.
We are very pleased to have you. So before we start, I'd like you to tell us a bit about yourself, about obviously where you've worked, and also you yourself, what it is that you are very passionate about.
So given that we talk about diaspora, I think it's difficult not to talk about where I'm from and where I live.
Yeah.
So I'm Cameroonian and French. I was born and raised in France and in Paris and close to Paris, to Cameroonian parents, and I'm currently based in Accra. And when it comes to what I am passionate about, I can say very easily Africa. It has been at the center of my education and my career. When it comes to my education, I have a PhD in African Studies.
Wow.
And when it comes to my career, I have been working in international cooperation for over 15 years with a focus on the Africa socio-economic development. And in this respect, I have worked at the European Commission at the beginning as country officer in charge of the relationship between Europe and several West African countries, including Ghana. After that, I have worked still for the European Commission, but as a programming and evaluation officer. So I was in charge of the programming of the European aid.
Right.
And also in charge of the evaluation of European development strategies for Africa.
Right.
I have also worked as an international consultant for African governments, for think tanks, for international organizations, and that's it. I have subsequently worked for the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I have led the unit in charge of the European Development Aid. And I have worked for some international NGOs, including ADEPT, the Africa-Europe Diaspora Development Platform, which was a network of African diaspora organizations, so logically based in Europe, but conducting development projects in Africa, and I was running the organization. So I was the executive director of this organization.
So very, very qualified then to talk about foreign aid.
I hope so.
I am sure of it. I am sure of it. So it is quite an excellent sort of career when it comes to foreign aid and how foreign aid works, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm really pleased to have you. We know that foreign aid, Africa is one of the major beneficiaries of foreign aid. However, a lot of people don't actually understand foreign aid, where the money comes from, and in terms of what it is supposed to be used for. People are not quite sure. So could you explain so our audience understand some of the important aspects of foreign aid and how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, of course. In fact, if you strip it down, foreign aid is basically money and technical support that flow into African countries from several sources. One of them being governments, so the US, the UK, European Union countries, and many others, of course. Also, multilateral institutions such as the World Bank or the African Development Bank, and philanthropies, so foundations. And this aid comes in different forms. It can be grants, it can be concessional loans, which are loans whose rates are below market rates, so it's cheaper. It can also take the form of technical assistance and guarantees, which are financial mechanisms that aims to attract public and private investments.
Right.
It's also important to know that this aid is tied to specific thematic sectors such as health, education, agriculture, infrastructure, or humanitarian response. What is also important to understand is that when we talk about foreign aid, what people often miss is that it's not just money that is given to government. If you look closely at aid, you will see that a large share of it goes directly to NGOs, to consulting firms, to United Nations agencies, and to contractors. And many of them are based outside Africa.
Right.
So in reality, when we talk about aid to Africa, you will see that a large part of it is driven or controlled externally and spent out of Africa.
Externally.
What can I add to be really comprehensive? Foreign aid is meant to do basically three things. It is meant to fill financing gaps. It is meant to respond to crisis, of course, humanitarian crisis, and it is meant to support long-term development. Another point that I can add, and which is extremely important, is that most of the time it is shaped by donor priorities, a lot by politics, and also by risk appetites.
Right. So you've said about the various sources that the aid comes through. So are there any legal frameworks regarding aid, whether if it's coming from a government, for instance, versus if it's coming from an individual, like, or a group or a company? are there any frameworks governing all of these, or are they doing what they want to do themselves?
Most of the time, some joint strategies are signed. So there are some agreements that govern, in fact, the cooperation between the receiving end, so the beneficiary countries, and the donor.
Right.
So there is clearly a legal framework.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to get to is there's a framework between the donor and the recipient. Now, can the donor put in any stipulations they want, or is there a more across-board framework that if it's a government that's doing it, or if it's donor organizations, is there something to protect either side apart from what the donor is insisting? Do you see what I'm trying to ask? Is there anything else that actually protects that is going to be a good mechanism to support the country in what it is saying is coming to support? Or is it as to what the agreement is between the two parties? It's down to that. The donor says, I want to give you X amount of money. I want it to be used for X, Y, Z in this way. And the recipient country has to agree, and that's it, or reject it. They either agree or they reject, I suppose. Is there a bigger framework?
Yeah, and in fact, it's a negotiation between both parties, and most of the time, what is used is the development plan that has been elaborated by the beneficiary country, and then the donor will decide jointly with the beneficiary country which sector will be supported, financially supported.
Yes.
But there should be a match between the priorities of the donor and the priority of the recipient country.
Yeah. Okay. So you did talk about a gap. So maybe if we can go a bit more into that. Is there a gap between what foreign aid is intended, like should be intended for, and what actually happens in reality? Or does it always follow what it is intended for?
For me, there is definitely a gap, which is not a small one.
Right.
Because on paper, foreign aid is supposed to be aligned with, as I said, the beneficiary country priorities, and is supposed to focus on long-term impact. But in reality, if you look at AIDS, you will see that it's, first of all, extremely fragmented. It is also short-term, and it is very often shaped by what the donor can justify to the taxpayers or to the boards. And I can give you an example. You will see funding cycles that are 2 or 3 years long, and that are supposed to solve a problem that in reality requires 10 to 15 years of consistent investments.
Yeah.
Or you will see projects that are clearly designed for reporting and for visibility, and not for sustainable development.
Right.
I can say.
With you. Yeah.
So there is a gap that is not just related to funding misuse. It's also very structural. Because you will see that the system has the tendency to incentivize activity over impact, or visibility over sustainability.
I mean, do the donor countries, from what you're saying, sometimes it is more for visibility, which means it is to be able to say we have done X, Y, Z, more than actually being to seriously solve the problem.
Exactly.
And that is
Sometimes.
what
Yes.
creates.
Yeah. But it's also important not to generalize.
Yes.
It can happen. But it's not necessarily the norm. But you will see that. You will see projects that are funded, and it's clear that it's just for visibility purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there also a case where foreign aid is probably used to achieve other goals that are not evident, as in getting information, getting specific data? I mean, I know this is quite controversial and quite problematic, but is there a possibility that sometimes the aims of that foreign aid is far from what is actually on the paper that it is for?
From my experience, I wouldn't say so, but it's my experience.
Okay.
So it's, I would say it's very limited.
So what I'm asking is, the way it works, sometimes is it possible that it can be used for other reasons? Because obviously it will be structured to meet whatever has been agreed. But sometimes is there a possibility of getting secondary information or being able to also achieve something that is in a way a byproduct, but maybe that was the actual essence of part of the reason why it was started, without being so public about it?
Well,
is that possible?
I
Because
think-
you've worked with enough of them to be able to see the framework of how it works.
Yeah,
And
but
is that a possibility?
I can say that some countries use aid to, I would say, to impose their norms. For example, in terms of gender equality.
Yeah.
And here I'm thinking about Nordic countries.
Yeah.
But it's also because it's part of their DNA. And it's something that they apply at home.
Yes.
But apart from that, it's a way also to exert soft power.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
But apart from that, when it comes to collecting information, I have not witnessed that. And
yeah. So I now want us to look at problems associated with foreign aid, especially in terms of African development. In your opinion, what are some of the problems with foreign aid dependency?
So I would say that to me, the biggest issue is not aid itself, but it's more how it is structured and how it shapes incentives over time. One of the problems that I have noticed, and I'm not the only one, is the fact that aid can distort priorities.
Right.
With governments or organizations that may end up chasing funding instead of focusing on the real matters locally. Another problem that I see is the fact that foreign aid can lead to a fragmentation in terms of system. It can lead to the creation of parallel structures.
Right.
For example, with an NGO-run health programs that don't integrate well in national systems.
Yeah.
And another problem that I see is the fact that there is weak accountability with some leaders who will feel more accountable to donors than
Right.
to their own citizens,
Mm.
especially if there is a large part of the budget that comes from outside.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the dependency is not just financial; it's also institutional.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think realistically, Africa, from what you're saying, we can develop if we are dependent on foreign donors?
I would say that in the long run, no. At least not in a sovereign way.
Right.
I think it's also important to be fair. Foreign aid can have a real impact.
Yeah.
You know? We know that lives have been saved thanks to foreign aid, especially thanks to the support, the financial support that was provided or that is still provided to health sector in many African countries. But development, in a deeper sense, it requires full control over financial resources, over priorities, over systems. So it's a real challenge. So yeah, no, I think that at some point a shift
Needs to
needs to be
happen.
made, needs to happen.
So, from your observation and experience, what have been some of the negative consequences of foreign aid?
Here again, yeah, I can name a few. First of all, short-termism. This is something that I have already mentioned. The fact that projects start and stop based on funding cycles and not based on what the community on the ground really needs. Another negative consequence is the lack of local ownership. You will see solutions that are imported instead of being developed locally. And as a result of that, some of them don't stick. And another negative consequence, which is, according to me, a major one, is the fact that foreign aid can reduce the pressure for domestic resource mobilization, given that if external funding is available, there is a very little sense of urgency when it comes to building very robust tax systems or local capital markets.
Yeah, I think foreign aid, when it comes in from what we've discussed so far, a lot of it can actually go back externally for the people that they use to do a lot of the projects, which I suppose could have been done by local people. The thing with that is it is not developing the skill of local people. And sometimes to foreign aid, with all its, this is my view anyway, with all its supposed good aspects, can actually come in and kill local enterprise, especially where the accountability, as we say, it feels a bit like easy money that has come in that is being used to do things, and the focus, as you're saying. So overall, I actually think it will be interesting if we can maybe a study could be done to see the real impact of foreign aid beyond specifics, as in the other side of it. What has it resulted in, and what have we lost actually? Because sometimes over time, the way it comes in, it can even be stifling a particular industry, because sometimes it comes in to help certain things, which maybe locally we have them in other forms, but it's not looked at properly to integrate the local stuff that we have with the foreign aid objectives. So it is quite interesting in that respect. Overall, do you think maybe, Donald Trump has pulled out a lot of resources when it comes to foreign aid? Is it a good thing or a bad thing when we think of Africa?
I would say that it has taken the world by surprise. People didn't expect that. So some adjustment will be needed. We are in the midst of it. We have seen some philanthropies stepping it to try to fill the gap. But at the same time, I see that as an opportunity to not only reform the aid sector, to make it more impactful, more effective, knowing that Trump is not the only one who has reduced its budget for foreign aid. Some European countries have done the same. To a lesser extent, but still. So yes, this is an opportunity to seriously reform the sector. So that it's still an asset and that it's still an effective tool. Because it is, even though it has not necessarily been effective in all sectors, all areas, but it has been effective in some. And I think that it's also a good opportunity to put in place some mechanisms that will enable to attract very swiftly diaspora capital. And in this respect, I think that there is hope when it comes to the attraction of diaspora
which leads us nicely into our third section. Just to finish off that bit before we move on, has what Trump and other European countries done, is it good to force African governments to actually rethink development outside of foreign aid?
Me, I see it as a necessary wake-up call. I don't know if they see it
like
the
that
same way, but to me,
we hope so.
We hope so. I hope so, and then we will see in the coming years what they will do about it.
Yeah. Okay, so we get into our third section where we are going to talk about diaspora capital instead of foreign aid. So given all that we've discussed so far, do you think diaspora capital can be an alternate source of financing on the continent, in both as a source of financing for African governments as well as local entrepreneurs? to leverage for development purposes?
To me, diaspora financial capital is clearly one of the most under-leveraged assets that Africa has. And when I talk about diaspora financial capital, I include investment, of course, but also remittances and philanthropy. And given that the focus of today's discussion is foreign aid and diaspora financial capital, I think it's interesting to compare them. And to me, one of the differences between both is that diaspora financial capital is more patient. It is also much more personal, logically, because when we talk about diaspora engagement for the development of origin countries, we talk about something that is extremely emotional. And I think that another difference is the fact that diaspora financial capital is more aligned with local realities. And when it comes to governments and entrepreneurs, they can clearly tap into diaspora capital through diaspora bonds, through investment platforms, through co-investment vehicle, and by making it easier for diaspora members to invest back home, which is the reason why it's very important that they create mechanisms that are simple and very effective, because they have to be compelling, and equally important that they build trust, because the lack of trust is one of the reasons why some diaspora members hesitate to invest back home.
So looking at the extent of foreign aid, how much it is, well, maybe before now, that's a lot of it has been cut. And comparing that with what has been coming to the continent from diasporans, do you think that gap, we can close it? Do you think diaspora capital can effectively replace the extent of foreign aid?
Well, it depends what we are talking about, because if we include remittances, we already know that remittances, it's far beyond what is given by government, by foreign government, through development cooperation. When it comes to diaspora investment itself, I don't have the figure, but I think that it's lower than what is given through foreign aid. But nevertheless, we have recently, over the past year, seen the power of diaspora capital through the financing of the Renaissance Dam by the
Ethiopians
diaspora. So we can see how powerful it can be.
So remittances, as you're saying, is quite high compared to foreign aid. So the key there is how we are able to encourage for a lot of that remittances to be converted into more investments as opposed to remittances. Because remittances are brilliant in supporting families, but those same families, it is used for consumption. This is the issue. And a lot of what it is used for in terms of consumption are still imported stuff. So in the end, that cycle of money actually goes out. It doesn't stay in the country, though it is used to support a lot of medical care, even just normal living. People are sending money to their families back at home to help them live. But even within the medical sector, a lot of that money is going out again, because of our import dependency and all that. So if we can just shift some of that money into investments properly, not sort of, give money to your brother because he wants to, but properly, then that would even help the same family, because it will start changing the landscape within Africa, and we will start getting the progress that's needed, that will actually impact that family member, such that it's easier for them to get a job and become self-dependent. The hospitals will work better because we are doing it here, and we are putting in every cent we send for investment. The multiplier effect is huge, and that is where the development will come from. So I believe we should really focus on that. The second aspect, I think you've already mentioned a lot of it about what diaspora capital, why can diaspora capital be a better source of financing African development compared to foreign aid. You've mentioned some of those things already. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of that particular one, why it is a better source of finance? You've talked about diaspora capital being patient. It comes with a lot of emotion, and it probably will help address local issues more. Is there anything else?
What I would say in addition to that is that from what I have seen so far, diaspora capital comes with fewer layers of bureaucracy and fewer externally imposed conditions. Which leads to more flexibility and in some cases to more innovation.
Yeah.
But this being said, personally, I don't think that diaspora capital is a silver bullet.
No.
Because it works best when there is a credible, a robust investment environment, which means rule of law, which means transparency, and when there are decent returns. As a result of that, and as we can easily imagine, it cannot work very effectively in some African countries.
So I suppose, is it more calling on the regulatory environments within Africa, the governments?
Yes.
That this is what is needed.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Making it both easier, but putting the structures in place to earn the credibility, to make people feel confident in investing in Africa, because investing elsewhere is not risk-free. So it's not for it to be perfect, but it's for the right things for them to start putting the right things in place, so that we can see that it is actually a place I can invest, I can put my money in without so much fear. So final thought, would you say foreign aid has made a positive or negative impact overall in African development?
I would say that it's both. Because the reality is that foreign aid has had and continues having, what I said, very positive impact, especially in areas such as health, humanitarian response, also basic service delivery, such as sanitation. We know that millions of lives have been improved thanks to foreign aid. But at the same time, we can say that as a driver of long-term self-sustaining development, foreign aid track record is mixed. at best.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of binary thinking.
Right.
Especially when it comes to foreign aid. I think it's important to be nuanced. I think that it's a tool that has been effective, but not in all sectors, as I have said. And I do believe that now the real challenge is to shift from a system that delivers aid to a system that mobilizes and deploys capital.
Yeah.
Be it local capital, diaspora capital, of course, also global capital, in ways that enable lasting development.
Yeah. Yeah. So, foreign aid can always be a tool, like you're saying, and especially when it comes to sudden events, especially, pandemics or what have you. So I think it's always handy that there's something that we can use worldwide to support one another. But in terms of actual countries' development, I believe leaving it sort of dependent. I think that's the key, isn't it? When you're dependent on foreign aid, then that's where it distorts so much, and you find yourself in that wheel where it doesn't. You don't develop. You don't develop because the fact that the focus of it is not the same that you need to develop. That development has to come from within, isn't it? Within ourselves. So to finish off, since your whole thing's always been African, focused, do you have any message for our viewers and listeners in terms of, where Africa is? Can we get where we are hoping to get? And any other comment, essentially?
Me, I'm very optimistic by nature. I do believe in Africa, in Africa's long-term development, but I'm also fully aware that it requires a lot of work.
A lot of commitment.
Us
ourselves.
I think that we have to be able to be strategic in the choices that we make, in the partners that we choose. When it comes to foreign aid, I think that one of the mistakes that have been made so far by African governments, not all of them, but many of them, is that it has not been used strategically. So to me, it's something that is key, and that to avoid dependency, we have to be clear as regards where we want to go, how we want to go, and also to elaborate exit strategy so that foreign aid is used for a limited period of time.
Okay.
Not like now.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Caren.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. And thanks so much to you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Do hit the subscribe button if you've not already done so, and like and share to amplify our voices to create the positive change we need. And don't forget to grab yourself a copy of our book, The Great Return, which is on Amazon in all forms. And if you're doing or thinking of doing business or investing in Ghana or the rest of Africa, then we can help. Get in touch by visiting our website, tgrafrica.com, and book a consultation for all forms of collaborations and partnerships, both with us and with others, and for business advice and guidance. And last but not the least, so you can check out all the other great stuff we're doing and how you can get involved. See you in the next episode.